Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we're going to look at my mono blue mill deck. This is one of my favorite decks that I have made throughout my years of playing Magic. It originally was going to be a mono blue moon folk deck, but as I played with it and modified it and made changes to it throughout my time of having it, throughout the years I've played with it, it evolved into something completely different than just Moonfolks. But, on the bright side, it is one of my favorite decks because it is a milling deck that can mill in 3 different ways. So, without further ado, let's go into it and I'll show you. So, we have 20 islands, and these are very important to how the deck works. Okay? This deck is, on average, like 90% of the time, there's no aggro in this deck. There's no me fighting in this deck. All the creatures are purely defensive. So, we have Jace's Phantasm. I have 4 of those. Nice card because as long as an opponent has 10 or more cards in the graveyard, he'll get +4/+4. So that's a 1-drop 5/5 flyer that you can have onto the field there, which is fantastic. Then I have 3 Jace's Erasures. I thought I had 4. I think I have 4. It's probably just on my shelf. I just didn't grab it. But hey, as of right now in this video, I have 3 Jace's Erasures, okay? Every time I draw a card, I can have target player put the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard. In other words, every time I draw a card, I can have any player mill 1 card. So, if I have 3 of these enchantments on the field, I can have any one player mill 3 cards for every 1 card I draw. That is the first card. Jace's Erasure is the first card of my draw mill aspect, which Jace plays a huge role in, Jace's Erasure, okay? And how we do that is we have Jace's Erasure in play, and then we play cards like Take Inventory. Draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named to Take Inventory in my graveyard. So I have 4 of those, so I can get to the point where I'm drawing 4 cards with 1 card. And then the upgraded version of that is Accumulated Knowledge. Draw a card, then draw cards equal to the number of cards named Accumulated Knowledge in all graveyards. So this is nice because chances are that you're not going to find this a whole lot, but if you're playing against another player who has Accumulated Knowledge, chances are, with 1 card, you could draw 8 cards. So you combine that with Jace's Erasure. If I only had the 3 that I showed you, 3 times 8 is 24 cards that your opponent or any player has to mill, which is fantastic. So I have 4 of those. That's the draw combo in this deck. The second aspect of mill is the creature aspect. This was where my Moonfolk deck started. It started with Hedron Crab. Well, technically it started with Soratami Minesweeper, but we'll get to that in a sec. Hedron Crab. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, that's why those are so important, target player puts the top 3 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. Fantastic. I have 4 of those, okay? I'm going to leave this one here so I can show you how it works. Okay? Set those 3 over there. The second part of this combo is Soratami Minesweeper. Flying 1/4, 2 colorless mana, and return a land I control to its owner's hand. Target player puts the top 2 cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard. I have 4 of those. And then, just for kicks and giggles, to make this combo really effective, Patron of the Moon. By sacrificing a Moonfolk that I have on the field, I can reduce Patron of the Moon's mana cost. And that includes the colored mana symbols as well. So, if I were to sacrifice 1 Soratami Minesweeper, I would reduce the cost of 7 down to 3, because it would be minused by 4. What makes Patron of the Moon so nice is for 1 mana, I can put 2 land cards from my hand into play tapped. Those 3 cards, oh, and I have 2 of those, by the way. Patron of the Moons. These 3 cards were the beginning of the Moonfolk deck, simply because if, for some odd, random reason, I had nothing but lands in my hand, okay, on my turn, play, we'll do this. I have 3 lands in play already, okay? I play a land on my turn, target opponent mills 3 cards, or player. You could mill yourself if you want. So that came into play. Then I can use Tommy's effect, tap to return. I return a tapped land to my hand. Have the mill 2 cards. That's now 5 cards. Now I have 4. You know, this is hypothetical. But I have 4 in here. Tap 1. There we go. Tap that. There we go. And I get to bring in, put up to 2 land cards in my hand into play tapped. 2 lands came into play. This is triggered twice. So now it's 6 lands. So a total of 3, 6, 9, 11 cards in total. 11 cards milled. 1 left over. Do it again. That right there is 17 cards milled with 3 creatures. Mean combo, especially with these 2, because you can return lands to your hand, and then as long as you haven't played a land, or you use Patron's ability, you can just play more lands, which is fantastic. That is the creature mill aspect of this deck. The last aspect of milling in this deck, and personally my favorite, is the classic mill and anti-mill, okay? So I have 4 Tome Scours. Great for opening hands, 1 drop, mill 5 cards. Okay. And then the newest and my favorite addition to the deck, Psychic Spiral. I have 4 of them. It's a 5 drop. Shuffle all cards from your graveyard into your library. Target player puts that many cards from the top of his or her library into his or her graveyard. I love this deck, especially, or this card. I love this card, especially against mill decks, because if I were to have all of this milled into my graveyard, and I play one of these, not only do I shuffle all of these cards back into my library, but target player of my choice has to mill this many cards. So it works great in this deck because there's a lot of things that are weak about it. It's a weak deck, but this card makes it super OP. So I have 4 of those. And those are the 3 main aspects of milling in this deck. The Psychic Spirals, along with the Tome Scours, the creatures, and the draw aspect, okay? So 3 ways of eliminating the players on the field. It's not quite to the point of being multiplayer ready, but it has won many multiplayer games, which has been super fun. Lastly, I just have a couple of fun cards, just to spice up the deck. Of course, you have to have Jace Beleren, because why not? Fantastic card. Love this guy to death. Super fun. He works great with the classic mill aspect and especially with the draw aspect. I noticed I'd play against characters who have protection, so they would like have protection from blue. So I just simply change all the colors with Shifting Sky, so that way I can like block and defend myself, which is nice. Thassa, God of the Sea, classic for the draw mechanic here. And she can scry. That's pretty much the only reason why I have her in the deck, is because she can allow you to scry. And she's a good defender as well. She's indestructible. Statecraft. This shows that my deck is not meant to be combative. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to and dealt by creatures I control. Very nice, because if creatures are going to be damaged in combat, I just prevent the damage. Keep in mind that we did learn this, we did look this up. Trample will still carry over. The damage dealt to the creature is prevented, but trample will carry over. It's I don't remember what the number is. I could look it up and put it in the description of this video, but still a super nice card. Gush, classic card. This works great with the Hedron Crab as well as the draw aspect, because you can draw 2 islands, or return the 2 islands, draw 2 cards, and then just play those lands throughout your turns. Ancestral Vision is a great draw mill mechanic, especially for turn 1. You play that, and then 4 turns later, you should have a Jace's Erasure on the field, so there's 3 cards. And lastly, Well of Ideas. This card does not come out often in my deck, but when it does, it can deal some massive damage. By the time you have this card in play, you should have your Jace's Erasures out, you should have your Hedron Crabs out, and probably at this point you might even have Patron of the Moon in play. So this card is fantastic because it uses the draw mill mechanic, and I mean, you're drawing so many cards that there's no way you're not going to get land or other mill cards. So this card works great with somewhere in this pile. There we go. Psychic Spiral. Because as you're going through cards in your deck and your opponents are killing them or removing them into the graveyard and so on, you just play your Psychic Spirals, shuffle everything into the deck, get them all back real quick, and they just go back and forth. So yeah, that's my mono blue mill deck. One of my favorites, literally 3 ways to mill your opponents. I'm still looking for ideas of how to make it a little bit more multiplayer, not friendly, able to survive multiplayer. Most of my friends that I play with know what this deck is capable of. So, it sometimes, gets a target on its back when I play multiplayer games with them. One-on-one, it's a fantastic deck. But I am trying to make it more multiplayer competitive. It does win several multiplayer games, but, it gets a target on its back. Let's put that in the center. Yeah. So, yeah. Like, comment, subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching. Share this video with anyone who's interested in mill decks. This, honestly, I am so proud of how, it has evolved and become what it is today. So, yeah. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye!